All right. Good morning. Good morning, good people. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Good
Yeah, we
morning.
got
Good
to the
morning.
count so we can be official.
Yeah. If everybody would like and share and let everybody know that we're in the his hour.
Yes. Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I need to cut my phone off. Uh, and so let's talk about what we're doing here.
Yes,
This is our
indeed.
Access Denied show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. where we discuss the issues that parents care about and the issues that impact us the most. And so, John, you want to introduce who we have on the panel this morning?
Yes, indeed. So we have a jam-packed panel with some of our resident experts, our Natural Propel organizers. We got Mr. Torvis Gardner, and then we got Ms. Shanka Ducaray, who both are fresh off from speaking at the school board from the first time since February. And then we got a special guest, a guest that has been from Cincinnati to Pennsylvania and all around with Natural Propel. Recently featured in the Tennessean, we have Miss Victoria Gordon. Let's give it up for Victoria. All right. And so as we jump into it, we always do an update. Just how has virtual learning been going for you guys? We know some people have decided to go back. So if you decided to go back, we'd love to hear about that. But how has virtual learning been for each of you?
Well, we had a break for fall break, and so we started back on today. And first thing in the morning, first thing you come to is connection issues. So I had to resolve them. So it started out about the same way it started out in the beginning.
What about you, Victoria? Or Shanka, you want to jump in?
Yes, I was saying that I definitely appreciated the fall break and the break from having to be on technology, but my son did fall behind very badly, so we used some of that fall break time to try to get some of the assignments in so that his report card would reflect failing. So, but we are this morning he's been on since school has been back, so I've been trying to keep up with the assignments so they don't get behind. And we're just looking forward to this fresh start for this 9 weeks to try to get it better.
Okay. And Visha, I know you got a grandchild, but how is this virtual time been for you with your granddaughter?
Well, I'm trying to work, and this little grandbaby is sick, and I don't, and I think I'm just thinking about if there are parents out there that's trying to work and do schooling at home, and imagine them having to deal with a sick sick child too. Like that is it's more than a notion. I haven't parented in a really long time, so like I'm struggling. I'm not playing. I'm having a hard time over here.
All right. Go ahead, Torvis, and then we'll go to Sonya.
We all struggling. It's just a struggle.
It's a struggle.
Like Sonya always say, the struggle is real.
Struggle is really real.
It's the real deal.
What'd you say?
It's the real deal.
Yeah, just keep on trading.
Yeah.
And Sonya, you got a middle schooler and a high schooler. So how's it going for you?
And I have a college senior.
Yes.
Who's also, I always say that, life ain't never been easy over here. I'm not going to even sit over here and pretend. But we're making it. Right now, my son is being screened for, more support. So we got a speech therapy screening this week. My daughter, who's a high schooler, is, probably the hardest one to manage because, it's a virtual setting for her is probably not an ideal thing. That's why individualizing learning is very important, knowing what each individual child needs.
Mm-hmm.
My son he's doing okay. And my college student is just always an overachiever. Right before we went on live, she was sitting in here and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I'm tired of school already." She just went back off of fall break. So we're handling it over here.
All right. And then Victoria, any updates on your part? We read about your journey already, but I don't know if you had any updates outside of what we read in the Tennessean. All right, and so we'll jump to it. And so,
our life has been. We've been trying to connect to.
Yeah.
Yep. So
all morning we've been connecting, trying to.
So what we would say with Victoria, I think Victoria is experiencing the digital divide. The digital divide is really real. But let's go into some as we think about the school board meeting last night. You know, a lot of people don't realize, and if you don't know, the school board has not had the opportunity to have public comment since February the 11th. And last night they had the first opportunity for public comment. And if you didn't see it the way they had it, everybody lined up. We were spread out 6 feet, and then they let one person in at a time. And Shank, if you want to just talk about some of the things that you talked about during the board meeting and just how you got it and just how you felt.
Well, it was my first opportunity to speak on in an environment like that. So I'm grateful to Sonia and also Nashville Propel as a whole for just giving voice to parents like myself. I wanted to make sure to thank MNPS, particularly Ms. Sonia Dobbs, for coming and being a part of National Propel Speaker Series and talking to parents, real parents, about the exceptional educational services that are available to parents who have children who are exceptional learners who may have an IEP. I wanted to begin with that because oftentimes it's said that we don't acknowledge when good things are happening, which I always hear Propel do that. So I wanted to make sure to keep in that line. I just wanted to talk to them about my son, who again is an exceptional learner and has struggled in the virtual environment. I thought it was important to talk about how the transition was abrupt and it has devastated many of our kids, and that is why Propel is pushing for the digital divides to be closed, for all kids to have access to technology and having access to high-speed internet. As you acknowledge Victoria, who is our special guest today, one of our parents who's in the trenches, but she is experiencing, in fact, the digital divide, which she comes to us and she comes to the whole virtual transition with what she has. And so I think that has to be acknowledged. And if we're serious about helping our children, then we have to consider that their families come with what they have.
Mm-hmm. And Torvis, what about you?
Yeah, it was a good opportunity to actually, since parents hadn't heard from the parents in so long, it was a good opportunity to let them hear the issues that we hear every day. And sit back thinking about it, the technology, the digital divide, the learning loss. Where are we at now from when we first started? Are we still hearing the same issues of no tech, no one-on-one support, no charger, the Zoom format, the online assessments, and having their assignments? Where did the parents get the assignments from? What are they supposed to be doing? We still have kids still in the wrong classes. So it was a good thing to be able to sit there and look at their face and see what they see when you're telling them all this stuff, because it hadn't got any better.
And parents, what we want to do, we want to take this time and hear from you guys. And I'm going to pass it to Sonia just to give her thoughts. But this is an important conversation. So one, if you know parents who have sent their kids back to school in Metro, like we would love to hear from them. Like, how is it going? What are some of the things that they like and don't like? And so please feel free to like and share this video, because we really want to get to the root of how parents are feeling. And so feel free to like and share. And Sonia, I'm going to turn it over to you just with your thoughts on the school board.
I think it was important for us to call upon the school leadership to take action. This is not a time to be stagnant. It's not a time to wait and see. This is a time, the alarm has already been sounded, and it's a time to listen and hear the alarm and react to the alarm. You know, in any emergency management process, you know, when you look at the city, and we have this whole emergency management thing for tornadoes and different natural disasters. So we're calling on the leadership of MNPS to put together a mitigation plan to respond and to recover our children and to do it urgently. Not wait until it's catastrophic, not wait until we have a crisis within a crisis. And so I am hoping, I am praying that they heard us. And if they did not hear us last night, then I say we get louder and we shout louder and we fight for our babies and we get it done. And that's one of the things that we are pushing for is an individualized learning plan. We've got individualized funding for each child. Each child got at least 10-6 on their head, right? So that individualized spending or money or funding should go to each individualized child to make sure that they receive an equitable education experience, that they receive quality. And you know what? Let's tap into some of this CARES Act money.
Come on now.
Where is this money going? Where is it? Where is the $24.1 million for computers, and computers are in boxes in schools? Where's the CARES Act money that can be allocated to making sure that we recover children because of COVID-19, because school stopped? Those are my thoughts. I'm sorry.
No, that's magical. Who else want to chime in on that? I mean, I'm just gonna take a step back on that because that's the real important stuff.
Well, I want to Candace Brewington's comment: no social distance between students, so my kids are not going back. COVID numbers are going up because folks getting in big groups again, and folks are getting COVID. And I just think that is also, you know, and Sonia has said over and over again that, you know, we support parents, right? You know, whatever their decisions are. And then we fight for our kids, no matter what situation they're in. But now, you know, Tennessee is in the situation where the COVID cases are not just on the rise, but like the highest they've ever been. And then, you know, Phil Williams reported that, you know, I think there are like 250 empty hospital beds throughout the state. And then the deaths are climbing. And then I read this morning that on Fox 17, 37218 has the highest number of deaths, of COVID deaths. And who lives in 37218?
People that look like me, you, and everybody else on here.
So I've been extremely alarmed since reading that this morning, and just wonder about our schools in the Bordeaux, northwest, you know, of Nashville area. If because if our kids are back in school, and you know, we know kids may or may not, you know, be symptomatic, but we know that a lot of our kids live with grandparents or, you know, families with underlying issues, family members with underlying issues. So anyway, I just, you know, just wanted to put that out there because that does alarm me greatly.
Thank you for that, Bisha. Anybody else want to share? Shaka, you look like you want to say something. Go ahead, girl.
I you know, honestly, I'm just thinking about the kids. I really am thinking about the kids, and I'm thinking about the parents who love them, who are trying their absolute best to make the adjustment, but need more support, have no clue of where their kids are academically, and need them properly assessed, and need someone to feel the urgency to come up with some kind of concrete plan that I can understand as the parent to recover my child. because it is clear and evident that the more and more we stay out of school, we stay out of the regular school environment. They were already behind in those environments. And now in this virtual environment, we don't know how far behind. I'm very concerned, Fine. And and my concern starts right in my house, but it extends because I know my son is not the only one who's failing. Victoria and I talked about just our comparisons with our children and just how they are both struggling. So it's more Victorians, it's more Shakas across our city. And I just, I think it's important that Propel continues to speak up for them and continues to demand answers for them and plans for them and their children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing that Megan, what's her last name for the Tennessean? Megan. I'm sorry, Megan, if you're listening. I'm terrible with names. One of the things that she said is that we are very consistent with our message, and we are very consistent with our message that parents need to be able to make an informed decision about the choice that they're making with sending their children in person or keeping them virtual. And what we saw in the Tennessean yesterday was a parent with regret who took their child to school in person. And so we want to make sure that the reason why we're so focused on virtual learning, let's be clear here, is that the Florida curriculum that is on those computers is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing is we're having an increase in cases. There's just no doubt that we're going to all go back virtual at some point. You've got to perfect virtual learning because it's not going to go away for a while. And so we have given grace for many months. But I always say that God controls 100% of grace, not us, really. And so we have the expectation that they'll get this right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any choice. And I think that it's negligent to not focus on getting virtual learning right for all children. The virtual learning is not going to go away. No matter if you're in the school building, you're still doing virtual learning.
Mm-hmm.
You're still doing a program. The program needs to be looked at, and then implementing the program has to be perfected.
But talk about that, Sonia. You say they're in school, but it's still virtual. Like, what do you mean?
Children are still in school with that Florida version. That curriculum is not going away. We don't pay for it.
Mm.
And so although they may be in the building with a teacher, they're still getting the same virtual learning. Now, where the inequity comes in is if you're not perfecting that platform, that program, and lending the same support at home. And this is day 2, and I guarantee you it's gonna happen. Where there's going to be an imbalance of in-person versus virtual. And 46% of virtual learners are Black children. There are 3 schools that have a majority of in-person learning, and those are in more affluent and Caucasian zip codes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be real here. So the reason why you have more Black parents saying that they want to remain virtual is going back to the fact of what Visha said. Where they live, there's a higher disparity, and there's a higher death rate, and they're watching their family, they're burying their family members, and nobody wants to bury their freaking child.
Mm. And Torvis, let's hear from you, and then we'll go to Victoria. Like, how do you feel about in person versus the virtual? Like, as we hear it, she says it's even though you go to school, it's still virtual. But how are you feeling as a father?
As a father, like we said before, we don't have all the information. We're not getting all the information, and sometimes you got to go by what they do versus what they say. I was reading, I think this weekend, it was talking about. They had said before that a lot of our kids wasn't getting in and didn't even fit kids. But then next time you know, you see something come across the news feed that Meharry has these vaccinations. They want to try it out. So one instance you say the kids not getting it, but look where you put the vaccination test runs at. It's over in our neighborhood. So sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they do. If the kids are not getting it, why is Meharry the ones over there? And you said that these are the people that's most affected by it. Which way is it going to be? So like I said, my child is going to stay at home. And all throughout this, we've been raising the sound of the alarm and everything going on. And you always heard, we need parents involved. Where are the parents? Where are the parents? The parents are here.
Right.
We've been screaming and screaming since school started. Before school started, the parents are here. We are here. We're ready to do something. So I don't want to hear that thing about we need more parent involvement, more parent involvement. We are trying to be involved, but let us be involved. You're not giving us any information. You're sending information to the kids. The
Can
parents
you elaborate on that, Torvis? What do you mean they're sending information to kids?
Well, the kids have an email address, and a lot of parents don't even know the kids even have an email address. But on Instagram, they text out about them going back to school. A lot of parents haven't even seen it. A lot of parents don't know what Instagram is. And the first thing on here says returning to school, and it has different little categories like on the bus. First thing it says on the bus, a minimum of 2 students per seat. That's not social distance. That's the first thing on here. So then it has things about wearing a mask. Tell them they can wear a mask. They don't have to, but if you want to, they're accommodated. That's about eating lunch. They'll eat lunch in the classroom. Arriving at school, they're saying they'll bring them in and they will check them if they're wearing a mask and if it's necessary for them to wear a mask. And they want the parents to screen their child at home. Then it has in the classroom, you know, talking about how the social distance. I don't see anything about putting a plexiglass or how they're going to distance from anything like that. And then just a cleaning routine. But this is the information they're sending to the kids. But the parents are the one that you need to talk to. The parents need to have the information. Stop talking to the kids and talk to the parents. We have seen this going on and on before. This is the first public comment you had since March, February. Parents, so you don't want the parents to have no say-so in it. We're here. Stop saying we want parent involvement. We are here. We're ready. You need to talk to us.
Yep. And for our special guest, Victoria, what do you think?
Oh.
Yeah, the internet is undefeated. We'll go through and Sonia, any more thoughts on that?
I mean, you know, that's coming from the heart of the parent.
Yeah.
And I for one, I can appreciate it like everybody else on here. We heard from other parents too who want their children to go back to school. And we also heard from children yesterday at that board meeting who want to go to school. I have a godson I called and checked on this morning who returned to school, who actually started his first day of school in kindergarten yesterday, half a day yesterday, half a day today. And he was excited about school. And his mom asked him what he enjoyed about it. And he said, my teacher. I love to see my teacher. And she said, did you make any friends? He said, no, I just like my teacher. And so that warmed my heart that he had a good day, but still in the back of my mind, I was worried about his safety. I think we all want our children back in the buildings. We want them in front of great educators. And I just want to be clear, but we also want them to be safe. And, you know, there's some parents that spoke at the board yesterday that wanted their children back. There were some kids that wanted to be back. I just want to make sure that it is clear that those parents, when they're making their decision, that it's based on informed information, like Torvis was saying. Give us the information, over communicate with us.
I appreciate that. And one point that I'm gonna make, just as we think about, so be on the lookout for what we're doing at Nashville Propel. And so as we always talk about, like, we're building a movement, and we just finished with cohort 5. So if cohort 5, you're listening, chime in, because we always say cohort 5 is going to keep it alive. But we got cohort 6 starting up this Thursday, Visha, and if you can just spend a little bit of talking about what we're going to do. But we have over 20 fellows that are going to start going through our public advocate fellowship, learning about different things in the school system as we get ready to build up and educate them on the issues. Visha, did you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the fellowship?
Yeah, so Well, I just think, I think it's such a special thing that people just need to sign up and
Mhm.
figure it out. But our signups are closed for this. Like we
Yep.
are tapped out in our numbers, but because it's just that special. But we will spend 6 weeks talking about things that that's not readily accessible, from the school district. We kind of delve
Mhm.
deep into, why the system works the way it works and why, sometimes it's our kids that get the short end of the stick. They get crushed by the system.
Mhm.
And then we find tools, to fight for our kids, to fight for justice. So tomorrow we'll try to leave some space to, for our parents and grandparents to deal with the current situation. It's a no judgment zone. So if parents are keeping their kids at home, if parents are putting their kids to school, it is what it is.
Mhm.
And we got your back no matter what. So so we'll start tomorrow, and I'm excited.
Cool. And I'll go into, I think we got a comment from Dominique. I think Dominique is cohort 4. She says, say that again. Virtual is part of all of our lives for a long period of time. Our children should not have to be forced back to school with the COVID cases still rising daily. I'm pleased that my grandson's school is not going back into January. And even then, they will probably not go back then. And so as we think about, again, it's educating parents. So it's one thing to something to affect you or your kid. Like maybe it's not the best IEP meeting. Maybe they're not doing well in school and you're getting no support. But I think what we do best at Nashville Propel is people really start to realize that no, like a lot of us are dealing with some of the same things with the school system. And I heard a little bit of that, Shanka, when you and Victoria were talking. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? Like just the similarities that you learn once we start working together.
Absolutely. I think what we had in common is the need for more
Can I say
transparency,
something? I'm
the
having
need to
connection
understand.
issues, so it's kind of hard for me to.
You can go, Shanka. I'll keep saying the internet is undefeated.
Yes. And Victoria, if you can hear me, I want you, I don't know if you can find the chat area, but like if you have something you want to tell us, please chat it and then we'll relay it because we are definitely grateful that you came on as our special guest today. So definitely, you need to stay in the chat. But she and I were just talking about our kids, the fact that we had in common that they both were exceptional learners, that they both have IEPs. We talked about just the difficulty with the virtual learning, the pacing. You know what was interesting from our conversation? Victoria was very transparent to say, hey, my son struggles with things and I struggle probably more than him. So if he, so we're seeing that as we talk to parents that they're having a difficult time supporting their kids because they have deficits themselves. And so the need for the district to be able to communicate we're calling for transparency across the board. But when you do talk, make sure that the people understand because then we can get something done. But if I don't understand from the get go, then I can't even help with the solution.
Hey, John, I have something to say. Look at Victoria. Look at her internet. Now she has a child that's home right now that's trying to do school on the same internet. She can't even say 2 words on. I mean, that's real. And another thing, everybody watched the football game last night. I tie everything in sports, I'm competitive. You have billion and $1 million athletes that's been shut down for 2 weeks. They couldn't play ball because of the rising COVID cases. These are people that have money, they have everything clean in the house every day. So if they had an outbreak and had issues going on with it, so that the people in the school system is going to do the same thing. They don't have the same type of cleaning crews. They don't have the same type of I guess people to clean up and do the stuff. So if they're having an outbreak at this $1 billion facility, it's going to be an outbreak in schools and they're going to be shut down. I give it about 2 weeks.
Well, we know it.
Let's talk about, one of the things, I want to piggyback off of what Torvis just said about them being shut down. One of the issues is contact tracing, right? You can't control people. My mama always told me that you can't control people. You cannot control employees going to happy hour, going downtown to the bar, going to their families' cookouts, where what we're seeing is the outbreaks are happening in households. Okay. The big thing now is about households being transmitters or super spreaders is what they call it. And so you can't control every employee. I'm not as much worried about the children because we have an innate sense of ability to protect our children. The reason why we hadn't seen a high level of child transmission because when this broke out, hell, we was protecting our children. Mine wasn't going nowhere. Right? They wasn't going nowhere. There ain't wasn't nobody coming up in here. So we got an innate sense of survival when it comes to our children. So I'm not really, they're not super spreaders. It's your staff that's super spreaders. Why? How do I know? Believe the data, baby. The data before we went in person said there was multiple personnel who were COVID-19 positive. So it's not necessarily the children, but it's the ability to contact trace employees. Grown folk.
It's real. It is super real. And we see even, this is Nashville. We see Candace Brewington. She says lots of Williamson County schools are having issues, and they went back before us. And what did we start to see in Williamson County on the news? 2 weeks in, a weekend, they were shutting it down, taking a break.
If you go to Sumner County and go to a restaurant, they ain't wearing no mask. Ain't none of them people wearing masks. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to get some wings. Man, them people was in there with no mask on. So you got these super spreaders in counties. Also, and then I want to question the reporting. Can we trust the system to be transparent with reporting the cases?
It's the major issue right there. Even when the mayor said before they weren't going to give out the information, but then they said they're going to give out some information if they have under so many cases. One case makes a difference. I'm looking at the comments where Yvonne was talking about the nurse practitioner of the school board yesterday was talking about they don't have no issues, no cases. We know that's a story. We know that's not true. So that goes back to my decision and a lot of the other parents' decision. My child is not going anywhere because you can't trust the information. We can't get the information, and the information we get, you can't trust. So if they're not being transparent and then being accountable, my child won't go back to 2021.
Yep.
What they should have said, they didn't have any cases that they were aware of because people can have COVID-19 and not have any symptoms. I'm sorry, Visha.
No, I'm just thinking, I want to be sensitive to the parents who, and someone, I think Tasha Baker had put in comments, sensitive to the parents who may not have another choice, right? They may have to send their kid back to school.
Right.
She waited to talk until I started talking.
Hey, son of baby.
But she had on a rain boots, y'all, so I think she's feeling a little better.
Okay.
So I do want to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, after thinking about the zip code 37208, and I think about the schools in that zip code. I know Cumberland Elementary is there. We have a preschool in that zip code. We have Isaiah Cresswell in that zip code. I think Kings Lane is now closed.
Yep.
But anyway, I just think about those zip codes Alex Green is in that area, I think.
Yes.
So schools that are already struggling in terms of performance, right? And then on top of that, you got the concentrated number of deaths from COVID. So I don't know. It's just a lot to think about and deal with.
Mama Visha.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
let's talk about, Sonia, the learning loss, right? So we're having this long conversation about, it's almost like the roller coaster. It's up, it's down, it's round and round. And, people are trying to figure it out because we've never had to deal with this, right? So as we, the adults, are figuring it out in our households, people who lead our schools, people who drive our buses, all the while our kids are just going about their lives. And do we think learning loss would be significant when we think about when the smoke clears and we finally get it together academically, where will our kids be?
Oh, I think it's going to be catastrophic. It's hard. First of all, when you are not equipped initially with what you need, it's the prediction is that they'll have at least a year behind when we already have children who are 2 and 3 years behind. Okay, and so anything that happens to the Black community is triple, double, quadruple. And so I think that it is ludicrous to sit around and say that this is not going to be catastrophic if we don't act quickly. And it's going to take some bold leadership to attack this issue. It's going to take some innovation. It's going to take some money. It's going to take, and I'm going to say bold again, because you cannot have a spirit of fear when you're dealing with folks' vision.
Yeah, why?
You can't come to me with excuses about my vision.
Anyone else want to talk about just the learning loss? Just where do we go from here? Again, like we always talked about, and this is important. Like a lot of times we feel if you don't talk about it, if you ignore it, that it's going to get better, right? But we know as parents, we know as adults, if the kids don't clean their room this week or next week or in a month, mold gonna start growing, right? So let's think about like the kids who are not learning, who, on one level experiencing a digital divide, on another level, they're in virtual learning, but still not getting the proper resources to learn or the right teaching. And so they're continuing to fall behind. Like, what does our school system look like next year?
Well, if the kids don't have computers and still don't have charger cords and different things like that, they're not getting anything right now. So they've been in school for the first quarter or whatever. So the kids have learned absolutely nothing. And, sitting here thinking about when I was growing up, I think about some of my friends, the guys that didn't want to really go to school, the guys that went to school, get in trouble, whatever. And I was sitting back thinking about some of them, and some of them, they went to jail. So it's like, if you don't teach them to make something, they're going to take something. So you're looking, I'm looking ahead, but you're going to start seeing more teen pregnancy, more teen violence, and different things like that, because they're not learning in the education system. And that's the only thing they're going to know to survive to is going to be that. So you're going to start seeing rising cases, different things like that, because the education system is not right.
I mean, let's like talk about the real, like as Black parents, I think we have to be transparent why that's so in our community. I'll say it again. Children have an innate sense of survival, and they're going to be drawn to what's easy. Learning to read is not easy. The science says it. It's not easy. And so what's easy is to do things that are not good sometimes, but maybe fun. It's easy to do what's fun. It's easy to do what you done got away with.
Yes.
And you think nobody sees. I mean, we've all been children. I've done things that were easier for me to do than schoolwork. And so, just to piggyback off of what Torvis was saying, I think people need to hear the why behind that, because they're children. Point blank, period. And they're going to gravitate to what's easier for them. Okay. It's easier for me to take something without you knowing. Okay. Especially if I'm a child And I just don't have that within me to know that it's wrong to the core and the consequence of it. One of my neighbors, they Halloween stuff got stolen last night. Kids on the bike out last night took their stuff. And I read it and I said, because it was easy. Not because they bad people. They children. They laughing. They think it's funny. Okay? So it's easy to do what's easy.
You're right about this, Sonia. And I know this kids are stealing car. I caught somebody trying to steal a car last week. Right there at my house, my neighbor's house. And you know, it's like you said, it's easy for them to go and do things like that, but you have the system that has money to educate the kids. Now, if the child gets in trouble,
they ain't got no money. They said they ain't got no money. They ain't got no money.
We ain't seen the money, so they got some money. They got all this coronavirus money and all that. So they got money that they make off the child in the school system. They don't educate them. They get in trouble. Then they go to the prison system, whatever, and then it's privatized. They make money off that. So if your child get in trouble and go to jail for 10 years, they 35 years old when they get out. Everybody done made money off of them, and now they got to try to make money off themselves with a record. So it's just a trend to keep going on and on and on and on. So we got to stop this trend and educate the kids from the get-go. Keep them going through this system.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be quiet. You left off a part. They go to prison and get degrees. That's right there. They can learn. They go to prison and get a damn degree in prison. And get out and can't use it and got the life of a less than an animal.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
You know, I think it's important, you know, what I see from Nashville typically when, you know, and what I'm seeing from Nashville, like the community at large right now, like, you know, everybody is being the Nashville nice, you know, being, you know, understanding because, you know, it's COVID and this is the public school system and they're doing the best they can. But I guarantee you it's their kids are not the ones getting, you know, just the bare minimum of whatever the system can provide. I guarantee you they would not be Nashville nice if it was their children. So, I mean, I think we still have to be vigilant. And I use the word vigilant intentionally because, you know, yeah, we're in a pandemic, but there is a system that is still getting $1 billion in funding that still needs to educate our children, period.
And asking for more.
Yes.
Well,
you know, it was yesterday when we left the school board after we spoke. And when you come on the railroad track, you stop. You look further to the right. It's a dog park. I'm like, wow, they got a dog park. They're putting money into a dog park. People all out there on social distancing and things like that. And I was thinking then, based on what you said, Sonia, they have actually put a dog park over here for the dogs. Somebody playing there, but you can't play it for education? Please.
We got work to do. Shanka, how are you feeling? I mean, you're a Nashville native. You graduated from school here. Your son is going through, and then your daughter's preparing in a couple of years or a few years. Like, how are you feeling about just learning loss and just where we are education-wise?
John, I'm sorry. Did you pose that question to me?
Yes, ma'am. Just, you know, we know a little bit of your story. We heard it at the school board. We heard it at some of our meetings. But, you know, you talk about it as you're a native of Nashville. You know, you graduated from public schools here. Your son is in middle school. Your daughter has a few years before she gets ready for school. But what do you think about this learning loss? Is this something that we can survive if we can just forget about it? Or do we need to really dig deep and address it?
So absolutely, we cannot forget about it. We have to tell ourselves the truth about it because our kids deserve for us to tell ourselves the truth. So what does that mean, tell ourselves the truth? They have to be assessed. We cannot be afraid to look at the kids individually so that we can actually come up with the data to show how much they lost so we can get at it. Because here's the problem if we don't get at it. Then years down the line, we're talking about the prison system increasing. We're talking about graveyards increasing. And we cannot afford that anymore in our community. I want my son to be seen, to be valued,
Mm-hmm.
and not have to wait to go to a prison to get the education that he deserves right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we have to look at it, and we can't be afraid of it, and we have to properly assess these kids and be intentional about it. And then once we assess, then what is the plan? Is the question.
What?
And we can't be timid about asking what is the plan. We cannot be. Because then later we're going to shed tears that we shouldn't have to shed because our baby's lost, man. And I'm telling you, let me just say this. Me and Victoria talked about how our babies come in here premature. Now, see, premature parents got a whole other different story because we have to beg God early for our kids' lives. So we talked about how we're not going to sit back and now allow our kids' lives to be disregarded in the school system because they didn't come in looking like everybody else, and because they learn a little different and they needed to be differentiated and they needed to be chunks. This is what an educational system is supposed to do. Not require kids to come in and fit into the cookie cutter, but fix the cut to match the child.
Mm.
Come on.
And more parents are feeling like this since Essence Denied last week. When Sonya told her story, there's so many people hashtagging, I have a CJ, I have a CJ. And now people are not afraid to say, okay, I have a CJ. What are we going to do about it? I want my child assist.
Yeah, I was gonna,
Lightning has no sound until
it's straight. Yeah, and I was going to say too about the podcast the report that Emily Hanford did that we talked about last Thursday night. That Sonya did such an amazing job telling her story. In that report, she interviews a couple of boys, teenagers in a Houston detention facility, and these boys, you can hear these boys sounding out words like toast and bleak because they had never learned to read, and they were 15 years old. And my first thought was, my God, these babies are the ones that's locked up, not the ones that matriculated them from grade to grade to grade, not been able to read a one syllable word like toast or bleak. And I just think, I mean, that to me is criminal. And we have so many cases like that. That's Houston. But we got them here in Nashville too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why we got to ignite a movement of parents who are sick and tired. Sick and tired of fighting by yourself. We're tired of fighting by ourselves. And we can't build this movement without you guys. I'm sorry to go there, but you touched the spot, Bisha. It's criminal. It's criminal. And we can't do this work without you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We need you guys to step up and tell your story.
Mm-hmm. And this is what it's about. And I'll end with this, and then Victoria. I don't know
that are 12 years old right now. 12 years old in the 6th grade on a 2nd grade reading level. I no longer want to help the school for my child to go from school to prison. I'm tired. That's my story. That's why I've been sitting here just quiet, just taking everything in, because today we've been having connecting issues. He ain't been to school all day. We tired. This system, this virtual learning is for the average kid. I don't have the average kid in my home. This system is not made for my child. It's on an IEP. It's not made for him. Somebody need to help me because I'm tired. I've been helping the school. Parent involvement, what is that? Parent engagement, what is that? That's the makings of me. They telling us to do that, but we've been doing that. Help us. Because their kids are not failing. Their kids are learning. Their kids are not looking outside to seeing if we finna go to jail. Their kids are not doing that. But our kids are sitting around this table working their butts off for nothing that the school system is giving to us. They need to hear me, and I'm tired because they're going to keep hearing me because it's criminal.
So this is what happens when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Just one comment earlier, Ms. Head talking about, she says, I don't have a child in the school district, but what is it that I can do to support my community and my people in the village? Go ahead.
I'd say, Ms. Head, go to our website, NashvillePropel.org, and join our movement. One of our organizers will contact you. We will listen to what you care the most about, and we will see what role you can play in helping us to build this parent-led, parent-organized movement to organize parents and to develop them into powerful parent leaders, to ignite a movement that demands equitable education policies and practices right here in Nashville public education. That's what you can do, sweetie. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Yep. And then Tasha Baker says, I have a friend who had a warrant out against her yesterday for truancy. School said her daughter missed 50 days. Her daughter went weeks without a laptop. It's crazy. And, I think in the chat, we're saying, Tasha, like, connect us with that parent. I think that's important to find out what's going on, and we're willing to help. And that's what we're here for. We're here to build a movement. We can't do this work alone. Sonya can't do it alone. I can't do it. You can't do it as parents individually. But when we come together, it's just a powerful thing. With a kid or not, Ms. Head, with a kid or not, if you got the time, the dedication, and the commitment, we just all jump in. One for all for one. But this has been, it's a little bit, it's a rough and difficult conversation, but I appreciate just the transparency, because it's the heart. And with the heart, like, people see that we're for real.
Yeah, I mean, and just to piggyback off what you said, John, and what we've been talking about, while we've been on this show, I have a friend who had a felony charge in 1989, and he's texting me, giving me a debriefing on trying to get his felony that he paid to society for 1989 that is still impacting his life, and he's over 50 years old. So this is what we're dealing with. They want to know if learning loss is going to impact our children. I mean, hell yeah, it's going to impact our children. It could ruin their freaking lives.
And so, any last comments as we start to wrap up? Any last words? I'll say one thing, then I'll pass it along to the team. So Sonya talked about, early voting. I think reading the newspaper today, all the lines are out of the building. So people are definitely early voting. I read an article last night, said even absentee is out the building. And so please take this time, exercise your right. It doesn't matter who you vote for, but please get out there. You can request an absentee up to, I want to say it's October the 25th or the 27th. We'll put that on the page. But early voting starts today, and it lasts until October 29th. And then, of course, Election Day is November 3rd. Just know they're going to be lines. So take some time, tell your job, plan, because it's going to be a wait, but it's worth it. No matter who you're voting for, it's worth it.
And don't forget to complete your census form. The census has been extended to October the 31st. It takes you about 5 or 10 minutes to fill that out. Don't forget to fill out your census form. I'm going to go vote on Monday.
Yeah.
I said I'm going to go do my voting on Monday. So plan, parents, plan to get out and exercise your right to vote. Take your family members, call your friends. I'm calling my adult son. I'm gonna take my adult daughter with me. We always go vote together. We just make it a family thing. Like, make sure you exercise your right to vote. Know who you voting for. Like, nobody controls who you vote for. Know who you voted for, why you're voting, and know the consequences of your vote.
And know the consequences of not voting.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
And your employer has to let you vote.
I think it's 3
You have to have
hours.
time off
Up to
to
3
vote.
hours.
So this has been a good conversation. This has been a longer conversation than we usually have, but thank you guys for showing up. Shout out to Latasha Baker, just finishing cohort 5. And again, cohort 6, we're ready for you guys come Thursday at 6 o'clock, and we're going to keep building this movement. And Ms. Head, if you're still on there, message us your number and sign up on the website, and we'll follow up with you. But the website, as you see, our new website, www.nashvillepropel.org. All right.